Our clients made over $53 million last year with Google Ads, and I'm going to quickly explain when you should use Maximise Clicks versus Maximise Conversions. Now, there's this big myth out there, and a lot of people think this, where you need conversion history inside of your Google Ads account in order to run Maximise Conversions, but it's simply not true. According to Google, you do not require any conversions inside of your account history to use any of the smart bidding strategies. So one of those is Maximise Conversions, and they're saying minimum conversions required is 0. Now, what happens when you've got 0 conversions? So Google will kind of still act like a Maximise Clicks to some degree, right? It will still try to get performance and clicks, but they will look at other things too, like the device you're using, the time of day, looking at affinities and signals and buying behavior, like looking at when you last purchased, all that kind of stuff, looking at demographics, where you're located, all this kind of jazz. It will kind of use whatever it's got in the system and tweak that so that it can try to predict when you can get a conversion so that you continue to spend money with them. The whole goal is for you to spend more money, right? And they know if they can get you conversions, the longer you will stay as a client with Google, right? With all that said, when should you use Maximise Clicks versus Maximise Conversions? So this is just my opinion. There's a lot of advertisers out there with different opinions and different groups with different sides and all this kind of stuff. I'm just going to show you what's worked for me. When you've got a campaign or a client, and in the local area that they're targeting, it's got very low search volume. Like you might see that a recent example comes to mind. A client had a business in the UK, and it was for home care services. They had very low search volume. Like every single keyword they're trying to bid on was between 0 to 10 searches, right? It was nearly impossible to find something over 10 searches. In that case, you would try to take whatever you can get. In that case, you would do Maximise Clicks straight away. You wouldn't do Max Conversions because it doesn't matter about the device they're using or whatever. You would just want to get as many clicks as possible. And then maybe optionally switch to Max Conversions later if you want. But if there's just super low search volume, just stick with Max Clicks. That should be fine. And then over time, you can optimize this campaign. Now, in most cases, 9 out of 10 cases, this one applies. Where you've got a decent search volume, maybe it's 20 to 50 to 100 to 1,000 searches a month for your keywords, and the CPCs aren't crazy, like it's anywhere between $5 to $15 per click on average, right? Then you would start with the Maximise Conversions bidding strategy. And so this applies to new campaigns, even without any conversion history. You can start with Max Conversions, and this works really, really well in 9 out of 10 cases, I find. With regards to expensive cost per click, so if you're a plumber or a lawyer, and your cost per clicks are crazy expensive, like over $50 a click or more, whatever it might be, and in some cases you've got 0 conversion history, then it's okay to start with the Maximise Clicks and have a max CPC. Like you might be worried of spending the $100 on a click, so you might set your max CPC to $50 instead, or whatever the average is, and that's okay. And then over time, you can slowly migrate over to Max Conversions. And the conventional norm across all of Reddit says 3 to 4 weeks, right? In my case, 2 weeks is fine, but depends how much you're spending. It's all relative, okay? But with the caveat here, I've had clients in both of these niches where we did not do manual CPC, we did not do Maximise Clicks. Instead, we started straight away with the Maximise Conversion event, or the conversion bidding strategy, and we outperformed their current agency every single time, right? Just by switching over to a Maximise Conversions, simply because we weren't trying too hard to be super tricky and clever, and we trained the conversions based on WhatConverts, so we set up the tracking correctly, and we outperformed their current agencies every single time. And the outperformance was cutting their customer acquisition cost by 60%. And that was within, I think it was a time span of like 2 months. We pulled that off. And so Maximise Conversions, even in this use case, can still work. I'm just telling you what kind of can and cannot work. You can take whatever applies to you. But yeah, in 9 out of 10 cases, you can just stick with this, right? Try Maximise Conversions. You got to make sure, again, a big thing, make sure you set up your conversion goals correctly, make sure it tracks correctly. I use WhatConverts. It's a tool that helps you track all your forms and phone calls, etc. And you might want to use that as well. And as long as that's set up, you can use Max Conversions. Now, the downside to Max Conversions, as you already know, the other argument is that there's no caps on clicks. You can't control the max CPC, right? And that's why a lot of advertisers in expensive industries just never touch Max Conversions and they go straight for manual CPC. In this case, you could do a Target CPA, cost per action. But the issue is, if you're just guessing, right? I see advertisers do this a lot, is where they're like, oh, we should only spend, or the client wants us to only spend maximum of $200 to get a new customer, or a new action, we should say. And they set that $200, but what if you needed $230 to get a new customer? And that's what truly was the actual number that Google requires at the beginning. Don't start with any Target CPA. at all. Just let Maximise Conversions do its thing. And then from there, after a couple of weeks, if you've got some conversions coming through and you're slowly trying to train the algorithm, then over time you can switch to a Target CPA. Don't start with it. The same way as you don't start with max CPCs, because you'll be shooting yourself in the foot in most cases, unless you're in these industries. That's my opinion. That's everything. So that's what's worked for me. I'm excited to see what works for you as well. Leave them in the comments below. If you've got any questions, happy to answer them, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.